settler, Jean-Baptiste Point-du-Sable, who came to this area back in 1779, settled on the river to open up a fur trading post to trade with the Native Americans in the area. He was born down in Haiti back in about 1750. His mother was a Haitian slave and his father was French. His homestead was where the current-day Tribune Tower and Wrigley Building are located on North Michigan Avenue. Now, right now, we're going beneath the double-decker Lakeshore Drive Bridge. Of the 4 double-decker bridges that span the river, this one here above us is the youngest, completed back in 1938, dedicated to Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial Bridge. The president, in fact, came to Chicago for that dedication. Now, we're going to be starting out on the left-hand side, with about a block and a half in front of us. Now, just to the right of that very tall white building, notice the structure that has a wavy texture pattern to the floor plate as the building rises in height. And notice how the reflective glass on the east face of the building there creates the number 4. The building there with the waves, that is called Aqua. That is the tallest building in North America, designed by a female-led architectural firm, Studio Gang Architects. The architect's name is Jeannie Gang. She's headquartered right here in Chicago. The number 4 was not placed there on purpose. It was kind of a fluke. Notice, were there no balconies? That is where the glass is most reflective to help keep the ultraviolet rays of the sun from entering the building. Where you have a balcony that's going to cast shade across the pane below it, that pane need not be reflective. First 20 floors, you have the Radisson Blu Hotel. Next 30 floors are rental apartments. Next 30 floors are condominiums. The tall white building there in that gap, that is the city of Chicago's 3rd tallest building and the tallest building in the world to have its name changed twice. Originally the Standard Oil building, then the Amoco building, and now Aon Center. It was the world's tallest marble-clad building when completed. However, it no longer is. Not because a taller building has been built covered with marble, the building you just saw is no longer covered with marble paneling. Back in the mid-80s, they realized that thin marble was cracking and buckling was in danger of falling off the building. Whoops. Didn't hold up too well to the freestyle cycle that we have every year and have had every year in this area since completion of Planet Earth. And they totally reclad the building with granite from North Carolina, a project that cost about $80 million. Directly here to our left, we have a 1-year-old rental high-rise called The Coast, with all the horizontals by BKL Architecture. And 1 block behind the coast to our left in this gap, you'll have a building with the blue tinted glass, gaps a bit more than halfway up, connected with a row of columns. And that's the current home of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Now, if you had taken this tour 6 years ago, where you see the columns and gap, that is how tall that building was. 33 floors completed back in '96. But it was designed so if they wanted to expand, they could take off the roof and add 24 more floors. That's what they did between 2007 and 2009. Now, I personally like to point out gaps and spaces between buildings as it can be very visually interesting, like here to our left, where the colors, shapes, and textures of these 3 buildings slam together. You have the triangular-shaped Swiss Hotel from 1988 by Harry Weiss. In the background, the horizontal wavy lines of Aqua from 2009. And on the corner, the vertical lines of this international-style office building, 1979. But where everything comes together, personally, I think it is very visually interesting. We're now about to make our way here beneath Columbus Drive, second widest spanning Basque Trunnion Bridge in the world, completed back in 1982. And as we clear this bridge, I'm going to be moving over here to the right-hand side. The first building that we're going to have here, we have the limestone cladding, streamlined verticality, and setbacks to the building rises in height. Art Deco, right? 1920s, 1930s, right? Wrong. Not this building. This is postmodern. 1989 by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. This is NBC Tower. A bit more than halfway up the building there, you have those upside-down L's, which are called flying buttresses, normally a part of the Gothic style of architecture. Think of the cathedrals of Europe. They have stone flying buttresses. They help the buttresses stabilize the walls and roof of the cathedrals. Well, there in NBC Tower, they're used for decorative reasons and to pay tribute to a building that will be seen in about 30 seconds. But first, we have this modern glass box building here to our right, international-style office building from 1965 by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. Currently just goes by its address, 401 North Michigan Avenue. As you can see, the building is set back off the road. The reason for that, this land at one time was owned by the Tribune Company. They would only sell it to a buyer who agreed to build their building off the roadway. It's not block the view of their structure there to our right from 1925. The beautiful neo-Gothic Tribune Tower. Notice the stone flying buttresses near the top. Similar to the ones on NBC Tower, these are more ornate. In 1922, the paper sponsored an international architectural competition. Grand prize $100,000 to any architect that could design the world's most beautiful office building. There were over 250 entries, and that their design won. Submitted by two New York architects, John B. Town and Raymond Hood. Raymond Hood went on to help design Rockefeller Center in New York. This is the double-decker Michigan Avenue Bridge from 1920. North Michigan Avenue was originally called Pine Street. At the turn of the last century, it was lined with a bunch of beautiful mansions. I'll discuss Ridley to our right upon a return trip. We're directly here in front of us. This tall, reflective glass building with that needle-like spire on top is the city of Chicago's second tallest building, and the height of the structure includes the very top and tip of that spire. That is not a broadcast antenna, that is a spire, so it counts in the height. This is Trump International Hotel and Tower, completed back in 2009, designed by Adrian Smith, formerly of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. The building rises to a height of 1,389 feet. Notice, as a building ascends in height, you have setbacks at different levels which relate to the roof lines of surrounding structures. First setback to the roof line of the Wrigley building. Second setback to a building across the river. Third setback to the building right next door. You can feel the temperature rise a few degrees because of the reflection of the sun on that glass. Of course, Trump likes to put his name on everything. Unfortunately, that's what they're doing there at the mechanical level. We'll see how it looks once everything is said and done. And again, notice the reflective qualities and properties of the glass. However, during evening hours when it's dark out, the glass is clear and transparent. You can see directly in that space. Then you would notice the floors 3 through 12 is a parking garage for the building. During evening hours, you can see the columns and structure rising up behind the glass, creating a very interesting silhouette effect. From floors 18 to about 30, we have hotel rooms. From there to the top are condominiums. The building itself cost about $850 million to construct. Now we just kind of have to take our time through this area because they're doing some work along the Chicago River. There's a lot of barges moored up against the south main wall, causing the river channel to be a little bit narrow right now. This boat is kind of wide, so we have to take our turn. Of course, we also have the parade going on here downtown in Chicago at this time. The steel and glass modern international box to our right, notice has a very subtle shade and shadow effect because of the vertical steel mullions. Originally one IBM Plaza, it is now the American Medical Association building. Completed back in 1972, it was designed by one of the fathers of international architecture, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, who came to town from Germany back in 1938 and became head of architecture at IIT. Mies van der Rohe's very famous motto was less is more. He liked to strip buildings down to the bare minimum. That is a great example of the minimalist design. It is the tallest building that he designed in the United States at 695 feet. It was completed a few years after his death. He also designed the Seagull building in New York City and the Dominion Center up in Toronto. As we clear State Street to our right, commonly referred to as being the Twin Corncob Towers, in reality here we have Marina City. Built between 1964 to 67, designed by architect Bertram Goldberg, who in fact went to Germany to study under Mies van der Rohe at a school called the Bauhaus. First 18 floors of both towers are reserved for parking, the upper portion are condominiums. In the background, the former office building is now a hotel. Here along the base is a small marina. There was in fact a movie partially filmed here in Chicago back in 1980 called The Hunter, starring Steve McQueen, the very last movie he ever did. There was a car chase at the parking ramp of this West Tower, and the car was shot off into the river as a stunt for that movie. That stunt was reenacted about 7 or 8 years ago for an Allstate commercial. Now again, I like to point out gaps and spaces between buildings. It's going to be very visually interesting. Notice how this space to our right is framed by the textures of these three buildings. We have the dark tinted bay windows of the Western Chicago River North, 1987, originally the Hotel Nico. In the background, the flat reflective glass of the modern 353 North Clark by Lohan Anderson Architects, 2009. And right here to our right, the vertical stainless steel mullions of 321 North Clark Street, 1988 by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. This was originally home and headquarters to Quaker Oats. They moved to another location here in downtown Chicago. As soon as we clear Clark, here to our right, we have this beautiful red brick and terracotta clad structure running horizontally along the river in the purpose-built design. The Reed Murdoch Warehouse building from 1913, designed by architect George C. Nimitz. Notice the clock tower in the top central part that was designed to help hide and conceal the water tank to control the original sprinkler system. When built, the building was perfectly symmetrical. And now notice that the left-hand side is one bay shorter than the right-hand side. That's because they built this bridge across the river back in the late 20s. They demolished the westernmost bay and they reclabbed what was left to look like it originally did. For many years, I was home to the city's traffic court. I'm very proud to say that I had to familiarize myself with the inside.